CBD, you know, let's do something D, like let's do something really good that represents, you know, Thai subliminally, and kind of over time we'll just kind of shine a light on Thailand, Southeast Asia, and the flavors, because it was a gummy. So there's some funny videos. I wouldn't recommend it, but some funny videos of people like rolling joints on airplanes and whatnot. I mean, that's kind of pushing it a little bit, but you know, like there's no rule against, obviously, you know, internally not leaving the country or coming in, bringing your products, you know, from destination to destination.
It's a new world.
Always creating new SKUs. We're always planning. Like it's never, Sluggers is an always evolving brand. There's 25 hours of work a day. Right. So we have to kind of find a way to fit it all into like 15, 16.
Right.
Because that's where we want to be. We want to be recognized and respected. In my opinion, we're better than, you know, for the body than cannabis and tobacco, so we should be respected.
Right.
But equal representation everywhere in the world.
The Grow World community is home to over 23 countries of the biggest commercial cannabis growers in the game. Growers join our community to trial new solutions in their facilities, such as lighting, nutrients, media, and more. So if you own, operate, or work at a commercial cultivation facility anywhere in the world, join the movement for free at growworld.com. We have hundreds of products and services you can trial today. Take your grow to new heights and try before you buy. Here's a quick list of some of our most popular trial campaigns that made this tour possible. When I was putting together the NorCal tour, I had one company in mind, and that was Faven. Born and raised in NorCal, they started selling their under canopy 120 watt LED lights in June of 2023. But do not let that date fool you. These guys are industry vets. They've literally built this industry. They are a dream team of the top commercial growers, manufacturers, and hydro retailers in the game. And as our title sponsor, I can tell you we've been working a lot on preparing an amazing tour in NorCal, and they are so easy to work with. They let the product and quality speak for itself. And just like our team, they're humble. These are real, genuine dudes, heads down, numbers up. And if you give them the opportunity to set up a Faven under canopy lighting trial at your facility, you will not regret it. So check them out. It's the title sponsor of the Grow World NorCal tour. It's Faven. Slugger Squad is your street team?
Slugger Squad is our street team. It's one of our IG handles, and it's basically what we're trying to build, like, to our fan base, like the name of our fan base. And you know, the Slugger Squad is just our like, you know, gang. Yeah. You know, our family, you know, and you know, we're starting to just really see the love, like, in crazy ways. People are writing emails that they want to wear like outfits to one of these raves, and like the girls in different cards of like different flavors.
I just immediately think of what's her name? Hattie,
of course,
from LA.
And Hattie is someone that I've known like since she was just a little marketing girl in the back office.
Really?
And she started helping me do some stuff, and then I kind of introduced her to the Astor Club boys in New York, and then
it just took off.
I'm good at that. I'm good at connecting people. That's another thing that Burn, you know, one thing with, you know, when we opened Cookies Thailand, he's like, Josh, watch. He's like, Fareed, you know, film everyone that's here and see how many people get motion off of our opening. How many people use this as a platform to meet people and open up a business and whatnot. So it's just networking and community, and you know, you're never just roadblocking. You're never like, you know, kind of keeping things away from people, just like an open network.
Yeah, I'd say that's one of your superpowers is you're a super connector. You're really good at that.
Yeah, I think it comes from my family's background in hospitality, restaurants,
Okay.
in a real, 5-star restaurant. You not only need to have amazing food and ambiance and, the whole, everything about it, but you need to really have someone that knows each of the clients. Now there's CRMs and a lot of cool software that
Yeah.
you can use on a computer, but when my parents had restaurants in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, it was my mom at the front of the house, remembering, who drank what wine and
Wow.
who ate what dish all the time and whose kids were, graduating and this and that, and
Right.
really remembering, all of that and just going above and beyond at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
you can apply that in anything.
Absolutely. And that's, to me, it's almost like an old-fashioned sales approach that I bring to the table, and I love that, right? Relationship building, actually giving a damn,
Hmm.
who your people are that you're working with. And I think it, again, with all the technology that's out there, it's almost lost these days. It's a
Yeah.
lost art.
I think using the technology will, is obviously a nice advantage, and so you can track everything and measure, keeping, in touch with people. It's your Rolodex. Back in the day, it was a
Yeah.
Rolodex, and you had your Rolodex A to Z, and it was, by the person or business's, name, and that's how you kept in touch with people, and
That's right.
there were a lot more directories and things like
Yeah.
that from schools to businesses back in the day. Paper, now it's all online and digital. So we just need to keep everything organized, and we need to stay on top of it if we want to succeed and keep the network, open and don't burn bridges.
Yeah, I super agree. So, Josh, you're a world traveler. I see, like, on Instagram, I follow you, and you're always all over the place. Has that always been the case? Have you always been a world traveler?
I have. My parents. I was very fortunate from a young age to be able to travel with my parents. Sometimes parents, they just can't wait for vacations to leave the kids at home, or they have, you know, a lot of help at home that it's very easy to go away. My parents, I think they had some help at home, but they really loved taking us with them. So I was fortunate to go a lot to Europe. I'm fortunate to go to the Middle East. My dad was from Israel. He originally, and we would go to the Caribbean. We would go on cruises. We would go, here and there, and I think that really opened my eyes to the world outside of our little bubble in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I'm from.
Right.
And my love for cannabis, and the merge, the where they both merged was the first time was probably when I was. I remember smelling someone smoke a joint and knowing it was something a little different at a concert when I was 11 in Israel and Tel Aviv. But then when I was 12, we went on a cruise that had a stop in Jamaica, and I actually convinced my parents to let me go on my own excursion with a Rasta just to see how they live. But it really meant to go smoke weed, and
Yeah.
just I couldn't tell them that at the time. And
At 12.
at 12, so I was really into reggae music and the culture and High Times magazine and stuff like that when I was 1992, when I was 12. And it's really just the whole everything about the culture that was, from Amsterdam to like all of the hippie type, it evolved from music too. I was really into music. Started in around 92, 93. But then I would, travel to places that, had cannabis. So when I was, 15, 16, we'd go to Amsterdam on the way to the Middle East. And then when I was 18, we'd go do a Europe trip. A lot of other kids wanted to go to Mexico or whatnot. We wanted to go to Europe. So I remember, me and 3 of my best friends, found a chartered plane to Brussels and took the whole Eurail thing, and of course went to Amsterdam. And I still have a lot of cool pictures. I was, going to, had a list of coffee shops and doing research back in, back in the day was like just getting the, the Rough Guide. You'd get the Rough Guide travel books.
What is that?
The Rough Guide is like, you'd have photos and you'd have like all these different travel books, and different travel books kind of cater to different types of people. Rough Guide was one of these new, this is a little pre-Anthony Bourdain,
Okay.
but it's almost you're a little raw. They tell you a little bit more of cool, off the beaten path, more relevant things to where, let's call it 17 to 40-year-olds, want to know, less of people 40 and above.
Mm-hmm.
So cool bars, cool, counterculture type places, from smoking and drinking and, mushrooms and psychedelics
And was it
and
an
stuff like that.
actual like booklet?
Yeah, you can still go to Barnes and Noble, and it'll be like the rough guide to London, or the rough guide to Amsterdam, or the rough guide, and it's cool alternative type reading. I'm sure I haven't used those in a long time because now everyone does Google. But traveling is in my blood. I think that it's the best kind of education. I think that I've learned the most through my travels. I've gone to over 50 countries now.
Wow.
I've traveled a lot of Southeast Asia and Europe, and I've been in South America. But I'm eager to travel to more. I'm always trying to go to the next place, and now I get to do it for business, or just to talk and be with people in the cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing because I was always very silent about what I did every time I traveled,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me personally, Josh, I think after moving to Mexico, I feel like I found myself, right? And I wasn't really able to do that in the US in comparison. Going to a foreign country, not speaking the language as fluently as a local, and finding your way through, I think it's one of the greatest ways to just know humanity as well.
It is. You can't teach it.
No.
Right? You can only experience it.
Yeah.
And
there's no rough guide. Like you got to get in there,
Yeah,
right?
and-
Like experience the food. I know we're both foodies, and the music, and just go
talk
sit.
the language.
Yeah.
Don't try. There's so many of these places that I meet people that have lived for, call it 10 to 15 years, and they don't know a word of the local
Coca-Cola,
language.
por favor.
Yeah, it's like it's to me it's sad, because it's more than learning the language. It's really just like letting go and respecting where you are.
That's right.
And it's also, it's good for your brain. It's it's exercise for the brain to keep learning and finding language. Most of the places that you go to in the world, if you speak the local language, they love you're in the higher. Yeah, you're in a higher regard. In the right away, they're so much more passionate about the interaction. You know what I mean? Even just in making mistakes, just anything in life, experiences, making mistakes, and learn to speak by making mistakes instead of just being nervous that you're going to make mistakes. It's important.
That's how I learned Spanish. I mean, really just practicing, having
Thai
fun.
as well. I speak Thai.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Same thing. I hate not knowing what people are saying.
Yeah.
One of my biggest pet peeves, especially if you live somewhere, is not knowing what people are saying. There's always that, thought that everyone's talking about you. And now that I've learned Thai, I can speak Lao, which is very similar, but I know Lao as well. Spanish, I can speak Spanish as well. Most people aren't talking bad about you ever. You know what I mean?
But the worst part, Josh, is when you're in a room full of your friends and everyone's laughing and they're making jokes and you don't know why they're laughing. You don't know the punchline. I mean, that motivated me a lot. It's like, I want to be part of the conversation. I want to understand why we're laughing.
Yeah, no, it's a pain in the ass not knowing what's going on, and it's a pet peeve of mine. So I always try to, even if it's 3 words, 1 word a day. You go to a place, 1 word a day, 2 words a day. You'll never forget them.
Right.
Just learn 1 word a day, 2 words a day. Go anywhere in the world. Ni hao, xie xie.
Yeah.
The foods. I'm a big foodie. So it's always, a lot of my knowledge usually comes through the table.
Yeah.
Hygersheim is a family and community-owned company in its 50th year of business. They were born out of necessity, originally starting in the medical industry, and they have brought that same scientific approach to cannabis.
So you've been to over 50 countries. What brought you to Thailand? What like it seems like a really special place for you.
Yeah, I was in love with reggae music, finding myself, through my early 20s, going to Jamaica a lot. We would go to Negril, we'd go to Mexico a lot. And I had one of the first collectives or dispensaries ever in the LA area. We were
What
in
was it
Van Nuys.
called?
It was called Trichome Healing Caregivers, THC. We were in Van Nuys on Sherman Way and Van Nuys Boulevard.
Wow.
And I had a couple employees that friends, that were always going and talking so highly of Thailand. But it just never, I loved Asian food, but I was never really jumping to go, if you will. And then a couple friends of mine, it was New Year's 2005 to 2006. They were going on a trip, three of them. They said, Josh, come with us. I made a quick last minute decision to go. And I left my family on, I think it was Christmas, day after Christmas. We were in Vegas as a family, and I flew to Thailand to meet these guys. And they were already in Bangkok for a couple days, like hanging out. One of the guys had been to Thailand before, but the other two never had been, having the time of their life. And then we were to meet in Koh Samui they were going to be there a couple days, but it was December 31st, 2005. And I still remember the day. I landed at about 11 a.m., got to the hotel by noon. They were out doing what they were doing. Because back then there were no phones. They emailed me, we'll be back by 3. So I knew I had 3 hours, and took a shower, put my stuff in the hotel room, decided to take a walk on Choang Beach, which is like the main beach there in Koh Samui. Within like 3 minutes of just walking down the beach and looking around and feeling the vibes and smelling the smells and
ocean breeze,
all of that, people getting massages, people barbecuing corn and chicken, people playing in the water, people of all colors, mostly foreigners. I was like, what? I remember the thought, I was like, what took me so long?
Yeah.
Like, why did I not come here? This is
Yeah.
crazy. This is like a vibe, right? And it's hard to explain it. Now, I tell people that Thailand is like the feeling that kids get when they go to Disneyland, adults get in Thailand. And it can be for any reason. It can be into anything, from food to adventure, to water sports, to partying, to now cannabis, to people go, finding love. There's so many avenues, right? It's just a really fun country, and it was just immediate. That
sounds beautiful.
And I've traveled, to all of the surrounding countries, which are amazing. All very different, from Singapore to Cambodia to Vietnam and Laos, and Indonesia. So different, so many people. But Thailand just feels so good to come back to.
That's the special place in your
feels
heart.
good to come back to. It's got like a really nice blend for me.
Yeah. Well, Thailand is definitely on the top of my list. I'd love to go film there and do a tour. What is the cannabis market like over there?
So the cannabis market is up and down, up and down, up and down, but it's growing faster than probably any other market in the world, in my opinion. It grew so fast. It grew hyperspeed. You would walk down the street in Bangkok and have buds for sale on picnic tables on the street, at multi-million-dollar dispensaries next door.
Wow.
To go up into the down into a mall, and in the shopping malls, they would be selling cannabis
everywhere.
In the shopping mall. So everywhere, tens of thousands of dispensaries.
Who's growing all this weed?
Thailand. At one point, the last time I checked, there was a registry that you have to register when you're growing, even one plant at home. There were over 1 million registered cultivators in a country of 70 million people. That's on paper.
Massive.
You know what I mean? So you have a lot of people cultivating. There was also a lot of importing, and there's a lot of that stuff going on. But Thais are growing everywhere, and you grow outdoor, you can grow all year, and then indoor, they're expanding. But there's a lot of a lot of flower cultivation, and then tourism isn't as popular, or tourism isn't as it's not as busy all year. You have your high seasons, during, we'll call it December through February, and then you have like these certain pockets, April, Thai New Year's and whatnot. But there's like a high season where, call it 4 months of the year, 3-4 months of the year, a majority of tourists are coming from Europe and all surrounding areas to Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's bring it back to what you're doing right now at Natura. I know you have a Thai brand. I know that you are somewhat in the Thai market. How did that all get connected?
My wife and I started D actually together.
Okay. She's from Thailand.
She's from Thailand. We met on that trip. Actually, we
Really?
met that first day.
That beach.
No, I had a motorcycle that night when we all met up for dinner.
Uh-huh.
We went to rent motorbikes, mopeds before, and I had a motorcycle accident right in front of this whole like strip of restaurants. She was with her girlfriends eating New Year's Eve dinner with hundreds of other people, and this 3 guys come. I crash in front of all the restaurants, so they all like 20 people came and ran to me to kind of help me out. She was, her and her friends were some of them, and she stayed with me the whole night and took care of me. And
she was your angel
for that night, and we kept in touch, and it was a fun trip, and I kept coming back. But so fast forward to 20. I think it was 2018, 2019. CBD was really, popping, like it was, everyone was, growing hemp in Oregon and turning it into CBD isolate. And,
right.
You had a lot of factories and facilities opening up doing, private label of CBD products. So I was saying the word CBD so much, and the word D means good in Thai. You hear it a lot, Aroy D, tastes good, Sabai D, good day. And so I was like, CBD, let's do something D, like let's do something really good that represents, Thai subliminally. And kind of over time we'll just kind of shine a light on Thailand, Southeast Asia, and the flavors, because it was a gummy. So we did a CBD gummy out of Nevada, and we just did a test around and whatnot. Fast forward, I joined the Ori and Craig here at Natura, and I had my little D gummy prototype, and we just carried it. They've been very supportive of me and ideas and my family, and just kind of different concepts that the team have brought to the table. So that was one of the ones that we were able to bring in. And Seth here on the team, he's behind the scenes, but he really does a lot here. We call him the chain maker. We built the product SKUs up from the ground, and now it's not only gummies, it's vapes, blunts with solventless hash, and joints with solventless hash. So it's kind of evolved into a Thai-inspired fun brand. Yeah, we have all new packaging coming. We're going to do a relaunch in the next couple months. We're going to be at PuffCon. So we've done a good job of, really getting out there and getting into California retails and becoming a fan favorite. People, the bag is very nostalgic, which we'll get into, I'm sure, at some point, because I'm into nostalgic type experiences when it comes to like CPG packaging for cannabis, which is why Sluggers is so amazing, because and D-Thai, because they transport you somewhere when you open them. So D-Thai, people love, traveling with them because they look like Asian Thai gummies. And the dream, was maybe one day in 2019 that we'd be able to make these THC gummies, and people from Thailand would, want to come to America and try them and feel honored that someone was, paying homage to the flavors, the rare flavors, the jackfruit and mangosteen and, another
mangosteen.
Yeah. The queen of fruits.
I just had that last night for the first
mangostino en español.
That was incredible.
They have in Colombia, they grow a little bit, and in Mexico, they're growing now mangostino and bringing them over here
Wow.
because they're so hard to export from Southeast Asia and keep, right, like get them at the right point, because it's those kind of fruits you can't harvest early and let them ripe. They don't ripen. You have to, the timing is everything. They have to be air shipped and whatnot. So now they're learning to cultivate a lot of these in demand, Asian fruits, that mostly Asians are eating. They have them in South America and Central America, but Vietnamese that come to America and Thai and Lao and Filipino, they crave the fruits that are from their home countries.
Of course.
Jackfruit, a lot of the, so that's what D really represents was, every gummy, watermelon, grape, sour apple, all the same flavors. This
Blue
was
raz.
Yeah, this was something. It was more educational. I wanted someone to go to Thailand and eat a real mangosteen and be like, I learned about that fruit from the gummy brand in California. That was one of the visions that we had with it. It was, educational. Every bag on the bottom has a little fun fact about the fruit. We're gonna keep that on the new packaging.
Nice.
So it's really just kind of like from my wife and I to the world, just sharing our love of Thailand. I've always been showing people around over there. I've been a good tour guide. Last year we took a 25 plus person tour of Thailand surrounding the full moon sesh that took place. It was amazing. A lot of first timers. It's just one of my special things that I loved.
Well, I see the Natura House of Brands almost like a Diageo group, right? Like each brand lives on their own house of brands. Can you walk me through each of those?
Yeah. At the end of the day, Natura is the heartbeat. The product all comes from here. We say single source on sluggers, but if you know that everything comes from here. We grow so much, and we produce and manufacture so much. So we originally were before I was here, Ori and the group, when they were thinking about what the place would become, they were going to have brands. But then when I came in here with Seth, right before, right when we broke ground, basically, we decided to go mostly into contract manufacturing and created and did a lot of product for others. Through that,
Who were some of those?
We did, a lot of dispensaries. We did private label. We did an Alien Labs, Friendly Farms, Cookies, Fig Farm. I mean, the list goes on and on. All amazing brands. Either SKUs get killed or brands don't, keep going in the same direction. But we've seen people do everything, and for the most part, they're not really either doing those SKUs anymore, or the brands have moved on to other markets because California didn't work or whatnot. We're talking 2020, 2021 right now.
Right.
2022 going to 2023, we started really feeling that we needed to develop, D was kind of a little thing, but not really like a real brand. We really wanted to build something like strong. So that's when we decided to build a brand in-house, Sluggers.
My favorite brand.
Thank you. That was like kind of our first, like, all hands on deck. There was, it was a nice group of us that really were involved in the creation of that one. And it was like our way of basically doing our own thing, because we didn't want to be at the mercy necessarily of others, and we could really control it. We felt that we could do it really well, and we had such a cool idea that we knew it'd stick. Yeah, and it was just really all around. Most of us are 80s babies in the group, and our love for like baseball cards and like collectible cards, that eventually went into like Pokemon and Magic, Pokemon, all that kind of stuff, but started at Topps and Donruss and Fleer and up into Upper Deck. And when Upper Deck came out, if you were like an 80s baby or someone in that era that saw what happened, it was a foil pack. The foil pack came to sports cards, and that kind of chrome, extra, maybe special card, limited edition, type
every
card.
pack you never knew what you're gonna get.
Exactly.
It was a thrill.
Yes, and we wanted to recreate that. with cannabis and make something collectible and have some cool, so the cards and so that's like our first brand that we're really putting, a lot of energy into. D-Thai, we have a great group in Thailand that we're working with, and we have a group here. We're building it organically, and then we just started adding on other brands that we're building slowly. Iced, Spritz, which we can get into later. But Sluggers is like our
It's almost like your platform brand.
our platform brand, and what it really represents is, there were so many. The infused pre-roll segment of the cannabis industry is the fastest growing, and it's huge. But if you dissect it, literally, physically, dissect a pre-roll, most of them are putting horrible material in there. It's like super dark, especially infused, because you got to infuse it if you want to, make it really strong and have a high potency, because a lot of the, people, a lot of consumers are looking for a high potency in their joints. But cutting it open and seeing what we would see inside motivated us to really make a joint that was good from the inside out, right? And we've evolved it. We've kept getting better. I remember the first ones that went out were like so much live resin on them. They were kind of like wet. They smoked great, but they were definitely not looking good on the shelf.
Time.
We keep evolving. We keep stepping our game up. That's
Kaizen.
Yeah, that's the only way. Yeah. Level up.
1% better every batch.
Every day. Every batch every day. So Sluggers are also show there's a lot of collabs, and it shows our network and a lot of like our partners. Fidel, Smokers Club, Cookies, and Burner actually was the name Sluggers. Burner, who's a close friend of mine for going back, decades, he actually coined the name. A lot of people don't know that, but
I did not know that.
With all the stuff he's going through and whatnot, he's had to, he's not a part of anything day to day or anything with Sluggers, but the naming convention and whatnot, he was a part of that at the beginning.
Burner is best in the world at naming.
He is.
That is like his gift, his superpower, is his names.
Yeah, he's great at like free flow.
It's marketing, man.
Yeah, he's got a lot inside
he's a marketing
here and
genius.
a lot inside here. He's the best. But yeah, he's a genius. And then we had a design team, creative team, Seth, Ori, Barry, myself, and then we have a whole manufacturing team because it's evolving now. There's guys like Matt and Carlos and the whole team downstairs that are just needing to shift, every day, because we're always creating new SKUs. We're always planning. Like it's never Sluggers is an always evolving brand. There's 25 hours of work a day. Right. So we have to kind of find a way to fit it all into like 15, 16.
When you grow commercially, you have a responsibility to do it sustainably. So introduce Kaya Grow Pots into your facility today. These are grow pots that are produced with biodegradable bags, which are more sustainable to our environment to allow you to hit that double bottom line. Timing is crucial in applying for a rebate. Work closely with a What Rebates processor today to ensure that all timelines are met and ensure that the incentives are distributed to your facility.
And you guys also have like a Mexicana kind of style brand, is that right?
I forgot. How could I forget? Yeah, we have Lola, which is another brand that we cultivate flower for. So we just started the flower line, and then a lot of the flower that goes into extraction. We have a shaman that
really
has been a part of Natura from before Natura was with Natura. Basically, the shaman came with Ori. He doesn't like to be called a shaman. He's a healer. He's a man of energy,
medicinal herbs and whatnot.
Yeah. His name's Renee, and he created a brand with us called Lola that is a tribute to his I think his great aunt that he's originally from Sonora, Mexico.
Sonora.
With native blood in him, and there's a
Yaqui. or
I think so. I think so. I'm not 100%, but I think it might be Yaki. You'll see him later today.
cool.
Um, and a long lineage of psychedelics
Mm-hmm.
and just plant healing,
Psilocybin.
and then just also like there's something out there in the wild to heal everything. So he can
Yeah.
find a plant to basically fix anything or can locate it somewhere.
That's how we started, man. We didn't have pharmaceutical companies.
No. So he started with a gummy under Lola, functional gummies. He's got ones for PMS, ones for focus, one for just like anti-anxiety. And they have obviously cannabinoids, call it THC, THCV minors and whatnot, but also an extraction of different herbs, functional herbs and healing herbs and whatnot that in different formulations that he's found over the years that he's putting into the cannabis space. So it's a real holistic brand, super high quality inputs from Kangen water to
What is that?
Kangen water is like it's like a device that they use to basically take a lot of these heavy metals and stuff out of water. It's a water purifying.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, a lot of people swear by it.
And it's used as part of the production
They
process.
use that water. Like some people will use RO water.
Okay.
It's like using RO water.
Okay.
And then they're doing these herbal extractions. But he's, over the years been responsible for healing a lot of celebrities, a lot of really famous people. He's really well known.
From addictions and
everything. Addiction, just everyday mental health problems, trauma, relieving trauma.
Yeah.
Him and his wife, they're also specialists in combo, which is a frog that has a venom that you burn into your skin.
In the Sonoran Desert.
You purge. It causes you to throw up pretty, violently.
Yeah.
But
almost like an ayahuasca. Ceremony.
Yep. But this one specifically is non-psychoactive.
Non-psychoactive. Yeah. Okay.
There's also the frogs, the bufa ceremony, which you smoke, which they might know a thing or two about as well. But that's so there's two different toads. One of them send you on the strongest trip of your life that Mike Tyson talks about quite often. Lasts only for like 10-15 minutes. But they say it's close to like 25-50 times stronger than ayahuasca. And then there's combo, which is a body purifier and a detoxifier. And people usually combine the two. People usually detox and then...
For anyone listening at home, do not mix up the frogs.
No. And know your toads.
Know your toads.
Have a professional.
Yeah. Have a healer walk you through your journey of whatever that might be. So the 5 different brands that you guys have, you said something about a spritz?
Yeah, there's been a demand for flavored. The market. This
like
is
a beverage?
No, flower.
Oh, flower.
Literally, not flavored, but like terpene enhanced flower. Like the same way that certain brands are putting cannabis infused or natural
like
terpenes.
Sprayed packs as.
Exactly. If a brand or a client asks for something, for the most part, and it's test clean, we've made those products. So Spritz is a brand that is flavor focused. It's basically similar to done with all very high quality inputs, and they're doing it in a very specific way that traps all the flavor in for a long time and whatnot. But it's for people that enjoy that e-cig type flavor. Me personally, I'm old school. I'm also a hash smoker mostly, 95% of the time.
And your 5th brand as well. What is that one called? The newest one?
The Spritz.
Or is it iced something?
Oh, iced. Yes,
iced.
And iced is also another kind of, honey. Infused flower or infusing buds has been a thing, I would say, since 2000. I started seeing them. Obviously, like honey bud was the thing in like 2002, 2003, using BHO and flower. And there's been different evolutions that went to moon rocks. Now the new one is using THCA isolate, so close to 99 THCA, usually diamonds that are ground up,
Right.
have the terpenes kind of spun out of them, coated flower. And then when you run a test result, it's really high. It's really potent. You know, obviously when you smoke it, it's super potent, but it's a specific demographic, people that just roll up crazy blunts and want the strongest testing stuff. And
Yep.
that's what iced is. It's basically different flavors that are highly coated in THCA. And if you smoke even like one little piece out of a bong, you're
To the moon.
yeah. So it's less is more, which for some people it's really important. You know, there is something to say about someone smoking this, you know, like something this much or something this much, as far as like the danger on your lungs and what it is on your lungs. I would say less is probably going to be more always.
Right.
Obviously it has to be healthy and
With
and whatnot.
anything.
Yeah. So, you know, concentrated cannabis and concentrated forms of cannabis are, you know, novel. And as long as someone can make something that is new and unique, and belongs on a shelf and someone's going to buy it, Natura is probably going to try and make it, you know,
Yeah.
because, you know, we are a huge facility that, you know, that we don't let anything go to waste. You know, obviously if it's moldy and defective, you know, we're not using it. You know, there's nothing you could do with something horrible, except for, you know, some less than savory product can go to distillation, you know, which is what most people would say, but we're never scraping stuff off the floor, putting it,
No.
you know, something like that. We have very high standards. In fact, the standards that we're using here in Natura, we're built to last a long time. If federal, you know, ever lifts, when it lifts, and we're able to get standardized like other facilities with, you know, GMP and good agricultural processes and all the, you know,
GCP.
ISO and all that fun stuff, we don't have a lot to do to get there. We'll still
You're
be in
already
business.
there.
We're pretty much almost there.
Wow.
So
And that's not mandated by California.
no, the
That's
vision was there.
Natura.
The vision was there for the
setting
global
the bar.
Yeah, I dreamt, right? We had Cory Booker here, Senator Cory Booker
Yeah, I saw that.
from New Jersey. I dreamt, Seth dreamt, Craig dreamt. Talked about it. We were up here manifesting that when you walk into here, we have a big lobby. You know, one day there would be a long table and, you know, people would be, you know, taking trips from around the world, different delegations from different, you know, countries, you know, that had, you know, had the plant illegal forever and were finally, you know, ready to make the jump into legalizing medical cannabis and whatnot. We still do want to be the poster child. We want, you know, the vision was already to do 30 of these around the world. I think after seeing what it takes to do one,
that's a lot.
Maybe some joint ventures will work.
Yeah.
But doing a joint venture, you know, with a government or with, you know, someone that wants to build the supply chain
right
on one piece of land, one-stop shop, everything can be made there under pharmaceutical standards that can hopefully be exported to other places. That's what it's all about. You know, this place is a beast, and we're only using it at a certain percent, you know, of its capacity. And one day, you know, we'll hopefully be able to use, you know, our products and export them to, you know, not only other states in America, but to the world from our headquarters here. You know, that's part of the dream. We have FedEx, you know, next door, the Sacramento headquarters, and then across the street we have the U.S. Navy and Army, like the armory and you know, whatnot. And it's part of the vision that we'll be able, you know, from Ori to me to everyone, that we'll be able to, you know, one day, you know, provide cannabis products to the soldiers and the vets that have to resort to other crap that's putting them on the streets and killing them, or use FedEx to hopefully ship it like other people can ship alcohol and tobacco.
Right.
Because that's where we want to be. We want to be recognized and respected. In my opinion, we're better than, you know, for the body than cannabis and tobacco, so we should be respected.
Right.
But equal representation everywhere in the world.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
The world is opening
process.
up. I got a call a couple months ago from someone in India, northwestern region of India, and he said, "Hey, I have a group of 40 politicians. We're looking to be the first, region of India to legalize, and it will be like dominoes after that. Who should we go visit in the U.S.? We're going to be there for a month, and we want to go visit all the top places." And they knew me from filming
Mm-hmm.
that I've been to some of these top places, a lot of them, and it's motivating to get those phone calls.
It is.
Because they just want to learn. They don't want to do it wrong, and there's almost a benefit to somewhat being late to the party because you get to learn from all these other states and countries of what has worked and what hasn't.
Yeah, and some of these countries, they really want to do it. So like India, you're talking about India, but pre-British, takeover, almost every Ayurvedic product had cannabis in it.
Wow.
And then came the British, then came the opiates.
Thanks, Brits. No.
Then now it's one of the largest opium poppy producers, and for pharmaceutical and whatnot. And cannabis has become illegal, but at one point,
because it threatens.
Yeah, and then you go up to the north of it, and you said, I'd be curious to see what part of India, because there are still certain.
Pradesh Valley or Pradesh Valley. He said it's.
I was in the Himachal Pradesh.
Okay.
In the north, which is.
Was it a hash making region?
Yes.
That's where I think he's
Manali from. And Shimla and Kulu.
He's invited me out there as well. We gotta go.
It's amazing, but they still drink it in a drink called bang, bang lassi.
Okay.
And it's like a psychoactive THC beverage that is kind of the Hindus.
Sounds delicious.
They drink it as a religious type thing, and then there's still like a sect of Hindus, or it's a religious like a type person called a sadhu.
Okay.
And they always paint their faces, and you'll see them in front of the temples in the north, and in front of, and in Nepal as well. They're always smoking a chillum. So they're like legally allowed to smoke hashish, charas, as like religious. So it's like, it's a thing in India, right? Mm-hmm. But then you have these countries like Malaysia, right, that are very they're Islamic majority countries, and I've had the privilege of having a meeting with the previous foreign minister, or a minister of health, of Malaysia, with a friend of mine in Thailand, and he told us, he said, it was my friend Tom, said, "Tom, Josh, I don't think Malaysia is ever going to want to grow any cannabis or produce any cannabis."
Really?
Because it's like, it's such a restrictive, country, and it's have to start from scratch and whatnot. They're waiting for countries like Thailand to do it the right way and to be able to export the products,
They want to be second or third.
They just want to import. They want to import.
They don't have any domestic market whatsoever.
No, they want to import.
That's
especially
the
at the beginning.
opposite
Especially at the beginning, because they just don't want to deal with the nuances of the new industry. They just but they want the access. The access. There are sick people, but it has to be medical. And Thailand,
GMP,
all that. In Thailand, from the beginning, it was cowboy, right? So there wasn't really the ability to do any exports like there were in Colombia and Canada and Germany and some of these other places. So that's happening now. Now everyone's starting to build the foundation for hopefully getting Thailand to where it needs to be, where we're trying to be when America allows us.
Yeah. We have a mutual friend, Mauricio Kraus from Plena Global and Economies down in Bogota. You went to college with him?
No, with a lot of mutual friends of his.
Okay, mutual friends of his in Boston, right?
I went to Boston University.
Mm-hmm. And for Mauricio, we just got back from our Colombia tour. Their entire market is export only, right?
Yeah.
0 domestic dispensaries. There's domestic consumption, of course, but it's perplexing, right? But with time, it's like a puzzle. This global cannabis market, I see it as a ever-changing puzzle. You have countries like Malaysia that just want to import. You have countries like Colombia that just want to export. And it's putting those pieces together that I think it's rewarding.
It is.
But it's a challenge.
It's very normal, though. There's a lot of industries like it. You know, I'm just even going back in my head to when I left cannabis in 2008. and I took a break and went to Thailand until I think it was 2012. Around then, I was like,
That's a great break.
yeah, I got a little break, and I was importing Colombian coffee
Okay.
to
I did not
Thailand,
know that.
and then I was exporting Thai rice. And one thing that you really learn is how commoditized things are,
Mm.
and like sugar, for example, right? Like things you don't think about. The biggest consumer of sugar in the world, India. They cannot export any sugar because they consume so much. They can only rice. They consume so much rice that they can only export like the premium grade basmati rice because they consume so much. Like a lot of these things, and why do they consume so much? Because everyone drinks tea in India, but what does everyone put in their tea in India? They put sugar.
Sugar cubes.
China, they don't put sugar in their tea. Chinese people drink tea with water. Like that's so it's like, and then put on desserts and put on so many things. And the amount of people in India, you could imagine how much sugar they literally buy all of Brazil's output. They buy. So I was like selling rice. I was learning what, Senegalese were eating for their rice and what people in Nigeria and Benin and South Africa. I learned a lot about Africa, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. Thai rice feeds a lot of the world, and at the end of the day, cannabis it is a commodity until it's branded, just like anything. And you learn about like a lot of the movements that are going to happen. There's like these situations where we're talking India and Malaysia. There's going to be countries that will have free trade agreements. There's going to be countries that have high taxes. So like that's where I think the play is going to be with cannabis around the world. Is maybe the move isn't just having a facility for, call it sluggers, in California to export to the countries that we can through US because of our taxation. Maybe there's a play to set up a partner facility in another country that has free trade with some of those countries, and we can,
Right.
the standards can be equalized. A lot of this is not new. It's, you'll notice a lot of your beers, aren't made in the places sometimes that they were originally made in for this reason. Or, Hershey's bought my uncle's company, chocolate company in San Francisco, and took it to Mexico, to try and make that same, gourmet chocolate in a cheaper way, and it killed the company in a sense. But it's gonna go that way. It's CPG. It's supply chain, knowing where your market is, knowing where your consumers are, knowing your costs and where you need to be at, out the door in people's pockets, and moving numbers, running numbers, and just creating something that just captivates people and hopefully becomes one of the biggest, things, and something that a product that somebody depends on and always looks at.
Yeah. Well, cross comparison cannabis with sugar, coffee, rice. Cannabis is medicine, right? And I think there should be like similar logistics and stuff, but I think there should be more emphasis on how it's distributed, right?
100%.
I don't expect someone to walk in and just like they might buy a bag of coffee anywhere around the world. I don't think that's going to be the same with cannabis. Like Australia, they move everything through like pharmacies, right? And I think Mexico
I think
might.
Germany is going to do similar as well.
I think they might follow a similar route as well. So getting the product into the country is one thing, but getting into the hands of the consumer is like a whole other battle.
Yeah, and you would think, that there'd be a way now with Colombia and all of the biomass and probably bulk, call it Rick Simpson oil or crude or product that could be made. There's so much healing medicine that's probably being thrown away or just not being utilized for the right reasons with the right people. It's sad. And Colombia specifically, I'm so happy things are starting to get going for some people, because we were down there in 2016 and the government has really just screwed that one up and just not allowed people to prosper. A lot of people lost a lot of money. There's been a lot of bleeding in the space. It's a lot of trauma that needs healing.
Yeah, there is. And I just don't get it, man. Like governments just keep getting in the way. You know, maybe that's my libertarian side coming out, but it seems like they're getting in the way. And I do prefer regulation. You know, I do prefer regulated access to cannabis. I think that's a good thing. We don't want to be putting in, you know, something that we think is medicine
Yep.
to a cancer patient that has something in there that could actually like kill them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that. But yeah, the pendulum swing of a lot of governments might be different in some other countries, but they get in the way
Can you
to
imagine
access
doing?
to medicine.
Can you imagine doing a lab test on a pack of cigarettes and like looking at
Imagine.
We all know, but they've been telling us
Imagine.
since we were kids. We already know what's in all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And strawberries, doing a lab test on strawberries,
Right.
And the strawberries we go buy at every supermarket, right? We're so
Everywhere.
scrutinized. We're so
In
like,
cannabis.
in cannabis, like
Compared to
everything,
big food, or
everything,
big ag, big
all of it.
tobacco, etc.
Yeah. So it's a tough industry.
Yeah.
It's a tough industry. It's not built. Everyone's not built for it, and we learned to pivot and whatnot. But I think brand is everything, and brand, be it a medicinal brand or be it a adult use brand, it's a promise. What is a brand? A brand is a promise to the consumer that you're going to get consistency every time. That it's going to be a same standardized product. And that's what we're really focused on, is making something that we can scale and we can take to the world in any way that we can, right? Legally and compliantly. And, just building a fan base. You mentioned Slugger Squad earlier, just building a fan base based on the product. We're smokers. At the end of the day, we're not just, vulturing, off of the cult, the whole culture. Like,
You are
most
the
of us,
culture.
most of us have been smoking. Like, we're getting older. We got kids. We got a lot more responsibility than we used to have and whatnot. But we respect the plant first and foremost, and we want to make something that's realistically, it's realistic to scale. Like that we can do in big numbers.
Right.
It's not something we can be limited.
Let's manifest that right now. Let's do an experiment. So it's 2024. Say 10 years from now, 2034. What does that look like 10 years from now when we're celebrating on a beach in Thailand and Slugger's hit is all over? What does it look like?
Well, 2034, you came from, you're living in Mexico, but you came from the West Coast. You're going to Thailand. You had to stop in LAX, right? Because your flight's going through LAX, let's say. You didn't have anything on you, right? But you really wanted to, take something that represented, the best of the best in America on your trip to Thailand to enjoy. Similar to how you want to get your favorite tequila and similar to how you want to get your favorite chocolate. So you fly through Tom Bradley International Terminal, you go into the duty free, and you walk past the liquor, and you walk past the cartons of cigarettes, and you walk past the perfume and this cosmetics that are all tax-free, if you show your ticket. And you see a limited amount of cannabis products, the best of the best. Some of them, from
who's on that
brand.
shelf.
I hope Sluggers is on there. I would like to see Sluggers on there. There's definitely some brands out there I could see still on it.
Connected,
Alien, Cookies. I could see Stizzy making it on there. Jungle Boys maybe. There's so many other. There's so many other amazing people. Yeah. I hope
But I see it. It's a limited
Fidel's
shelf.
Is one of them.
Right?
It's a shelf where you would get your. So I'll put it on a whiskey sense, where you see the Johnny Walker and where you see the Jim Beam and where you see the Macallan and the in stores and the deals and whatnot, and you go grab. You can't grab so much, right? You can't go take 10 bottles of liquor to Thailand. So you're going to Thailand, you take your, call it, 7 grams of this thing and your, pre-rolls of here and your gummies or your chocolates, a Kiva or whatnot, whatever it is. And You walk over to the register and same thing. They ask you, where are you going, sir? Thailand. Oh, they look on their chart, because if they pass, Saudi Arabia, not allowed to take any. You pass here, you can only take this much or whatnot. So it's a country by country list of which countries have reciprocity and allow you to bring in cannabis because they legalize cannabis or they allow cannabis. And then you could bring that set amount legally without getting fined, by customs or having things
pulled
taken
off a
or
plane.
whatnot. All that. I think that's where it's going to be. That's what I've told many people, is the moment that I don't have to really hopefully work too much anymore. I can, my daughter and my kids will be, continuing the legacy or doing whatever they love to do. But I kind of said 6-7 years from now we'll be there. So 10 years we should definitely be there.
Yeah. And when you get to Thailand and you're getting ready at the hotel, you're going out to the beach, you can consume your favorite products from the US.
Yep.
And you should be able to bring those Thai products back to the U.S.
Exactly. Same.
This is a plant meant to be shared.
There should be the same reciprocity, like cigarettes. It's pretty universal. 1 to 2 cartons per person. Liquor, 1 to 2 bottles. Before you pay a tax. Even if you want to bring more cannabis, even if you want to bring that case of wine back from your trip to France or whatnot, you can. There's a set tax that you pay per, whatnot. So yeah, if you want to bring a half a suitcase of your favorite Thai, rosin products, or, your favorite, Dutch, flour, and there's a reciprocity and you're in that, rule or law with that country regarding, cannabis, and taxation and all that stuff. That's where it needs to be, because you could do it with chocolate. I've loaded my suitcase with chocolate before. I've loaded my suitcase with nuts and dried fruit, and my wife has brought the, dried meats and fish and all that stuff. So it's, cannabis is not much different, other than being, psychoactive.
It starts here.
It does.
Education.
It does.
Teaching not only governments and politicians, but consumers.
Thailand actually allows you to carry on your cannabis.
They do.
So Thailand, I'm pretty sure you can bring up to a kilo, like a lot.
A
kilo. Carry on.
Yeah.
So there's some funny videos. I wouldn't recommend it, but some funny videos of people like rolling joints on airplanes and whatnot. That's kind of pushing it a little bit. But, there is no rule against, obviously, internally not leaving the country or coming in, bringing your products, from destination to destination.
It's a new world.
Yeah. So they're ahead of us.
Yeah.
They're ahead of us in that sense.
I see that. Well, thank you so much for giving me a little slice of your time today. I learned a lot about you, a lot about the Natura brands as well as the global market. So
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
It's a
Nick.
pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you so much for listening to the Grow World podcast. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. Until next time.